Hi guys, today we're going to look at doing some 2-point perspective drawing. Hopefully in the post you've received this, which is a modified ruler from Technology Student. So we've done it to highlight on a 2-point perspective and isometric drawing, which we'll come to later. Today we're going to focus on using these circles here with a hole in the middle. This is what our prime focus is going to be today. So the first step we're going to look at doing is producing something like this. We're going to be producing 4 squares around the page using the same vanishing point, okay? Getting used to the skills that we need that we're going to use later to help us draw a tanagram in 2-point perspective. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put 2 vanishing points down on my page. And in this case, I'm going to put them in the middle. You could put them at the top, you could put them at the bottom, okay? It's entirely up to you, but for this instance, I'm putting them in the middle of the page. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly draw a vertical line in the middle of my page. Then from here, I'm going to select, or not select, but I'm going to make sure my vanishing point is in the middle of this circle, and I'm going to move my ruler to the top of the line, okay? And I'm going to do the same to the bottom. And I'm also going to do the same on the other side. So we're making sure our circle is above our vanishing point, taking it to the bottom of the line, and then we're doing the same to the top. So we've got a sort of elongated shape at the minute. The main thing now we need to worry about is creating depth so we can create our cuboids. So I'm going to produce 2 vertical lines. These can be anywhere you want really. So all you're doing now is just selecting the depth and the size of the cuboid you're drawing. So I'm going to select these here. So that is mine at the minute. The one thing that I'm missing is the lid. So what normally happens now in 2-point perspective is anything that is on the right hand side goes to the left vanishing point, and anything on the right hand side, or the left hand side, sorry, goes to the right vanishing point. So in that instance, I'm going to get my ruler, hover the circle over the vanishing point, and go to the top of the line. And I'm going to draw to it very lightly. And again, vanishing point, circle over it, and to the top of the line. And at this point, I only need to go to the line because that's where my shape finishes. So there you have it. To begin with, I've got my first cuboid. What I'd then like you to do is to use a darker pencil line, a biro, or if you have one, a fine liner, to go over all the lines that you've drawn. It just highlights your image and makes it stand out. Okay, so I'm just going to go through all of these to highlight what I've drawn. A lot of this is practice, okay? So if you find that it doesn't work straight away, we just keep on persevering and going through sort of these clips so you understand what is going on. And obviously I'll be available on Teams calls so we can go through things. So that's my first shape. What I'm going to do now, the reason why I ask for light lines is so that we can rub things out, because we no longer need these lines. Because ideally we want a page with our shapes which are going to be rendered, and we don't want to see any pencil lines. So the lighter the better, as long as you can see what is going on, which is going to help you to draw. So that is one of my shapes. Now I'm going to draw 3 of the lines around in this page, and I'm going to connect them to the vanishing points. So I'm going to have one up here. I'm going to have one over here, and I'm going to have one down here. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you one because we're going through the same principles, and then we'll move on to the next stages. So if I look at this one here, I'm going to circle over the vanishing point, oops, down to it, circle over the vanishing point and now to the top of the line. Make sure that it is hovering over because you don't want it to be in the wrong position, and circle over the vanishing point and to the top of the line. I don't need to go all the way down because my shape is not going to be this big. I'm just keeping it relevant to the size that I want, okay? And also it means there's less then to rub out. And I've got that now. So again, 2 vertical lines. I'm going to select one here, and I'm going to select another one over here. So the same thing, what we're going to do is this line is going to go to the right. So vanishing point over here, and again, vanishing point over here. So that is our second cube, and we're going to do the same on these two here, which would then lead us to having a design which looks a bit like this. Okay, so we've got our 4 cubes, and they've all been fine lined, and we've got any pencil lines that we don't need. Now, what I'd like you to focus on is how we're going to render these. So it's going to be about presentation for how we can show our design off. And I'm going to show you a few different ways that we could do that. The first way is I'm going to select 3 different colours of green. So what I'm going to show you is, imagine if our light source, I'll do it in pen, was coming from here. Our bottom face is going to be a lightest, that's going to be a bit lighter, and that's going to be a bit darker. So if you've got 3 different shades of green, I'm going to carefully sort of shade at the bottom, and I'm not pressing too hard. I'm just lightly rendering across on my surface, and we're taking time and care into this. It's not a rush to sort of get it coloured and done. We're just taking a nice, calm and steady approach. Okay, so that is the first one. The next one, I've got sort of my lighter green. What I'm going to do to cheat here slightly is I'm going to put a ruler slightly hovering above the top, so that then I've got a bit more freedom just to go up to that line, so I know it's going to stay within the confines of the cuboid, and I can come all the way down now to where I first began on the base. Okay, you can as well put the ruler underneath, but if it goes into green, it's not so much of an issue because we see it's a bit of a blending. Okay, so that is our first point there. So I've got a light green, darker green, and now finally I'm going to go for sort of the darkest green that I have. Okay, same way. Try to keep an even pressure all the way across, okay? You don't want any patches to be slightly darker than others, so you need to try and keep an even pressure on your pencils when you're rendering it. Okay, so this is one way that we could do this, and we've got different tones on each of the sides of our shape. Okay, so that's part one. The second thing that we could do is something that I prefer sometimes is if we go around the edges, similar to what we've done with the fine liner, we're just pressing down a bit heavier. Okay, so we're using a thicker line around the outside, highlighting features. So imagine if you've got a cutout in one of these shapes, you could be using thicker lines to help highlight any specific features you want to be recognized in your design. Okay, so we're just highlighting these key features with thicker lines, okay? Then on the inside, what you're going to do is we're going to lightly render, and we'll see a nice contrast between the dark lines that we've used and then the thinner lines. So what I'm going to do now is gently render the top here. I'm going to come across down here now. And again on the side, okay? So I've shown you two different ways at the minute. The third way you could do is just fairly straightforward, is if we've got, I'm going to use another purple, just slightly lighter. What you could just be doing is rendering like we have here, but just in the one colour. And you could do that all the way around the shape, okay? So we've got a nice, well presented sort of shape that we've drawn, and now we've rendered with our colours, okay? Try to experiment a bit, try and show different techniques. And just try and keep that even pressure all the way along with your work, okay? All this is about practice, so it's something you can continually develop. So that is what we're going to work towards, and this is something that I've sort of finished with. So this is what I'd like you all to be able to achieve within this lesson and upload once completed, okay? Good luck, guys, and I hope it all goes well with you developing your 2-point perspective skills.